Hello friends, this is Marysaa and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss translation as a way to learn a new language. First, we're going to elaborate on it from different perspectives. I'm going to begin with the historic side. First, let's see when translating became a tool for learning a new language. I think it has its roots well deep into history, maybe sometime after the cognitive revolution when humans became conscious and could communicate to one another by languages. Apparently, its thrive was during the grammar translation method. This is how Wikipedia defines this method. The grammar translation method is a method of teaching foreign languages derived from the classical, sometimes called traditional method of teaching ancient Greek and Latin. And its downfall began when it got rejected by the direct method. The direct method, also called the natural method, focuses on full immersion in a classroom environment where not even one word of the student's native language is spoken. The focus is not on grammar, but instead it's on learning through listening and speaking. So translation has been a pedagogical tool in learning a foreign language for quite some time now. And when we try to see the linguistic side of it, as this teacher said here, and I agree that translation is a primordial linguistic function for just about everyone, so opinions greatly differ. Translation and foreign language teaching/learning, they have been called bedfellows because translation reduces the time on task and output principles, which play a pivotal role in learning a foreign language. And this is why, thus generally, translation has been regarded as an impediment, an obstruction. I was also very interested in this professor's post. I will read it to you. Psycholinguistic research has shown that up to, and in some cases including, the level of real fluency, translation takes place in the user's brain. So it's a myth that past early childhood second language learning is the same as first language learning, because children are born pre-programmed to learn the language or languages that they often hear and interact in. So some children are blessed to have more than one native language. They're called coordinate bilinguals. The rest of us are called compound bilinguals, multilinguals. And then he goes on giving some examples, and they're very interesting. I will link him down below. I will link down the website, so if you want to check it out, you can. Here's my personal take on this. Translating is an extremely powerful weapon that will undoubtedly help you immensely if you use it with caution and limitation, but it will harm you, and frankly I think that it will destroy your thought process if you use it as a shortcut. When you're trying to learn a new language, you need a good sense of perception. You need to speculate the definition of some words and sentences, because we can't know everything. Like, we cannot learn the meaning of all words. Doesn't make any sense. What we have to do is guess what that word or sentence would mean based on the context that it's being used in. Context matters because it's going to give you synonyms and keywords, because you're going to see those synonyms and keywords in that context, and that will be like the activation energy, which will start a chain reaction in your mind that will help you find and see the connection among those words and eventually guide you to guess what that word or sentence means. Now, this is an extremely crucial part of learning a new language, and when you first start out, it's going to be very hard because your mind is not used to this. You have to gradually build this up, and the only way we can build something up in ourselves is by practice, right? Practice makes perfect. And let's remind ourselves that we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for progress. And progress takes time, patience, and repetition. You're definitely going to fail time after time when you first start out. You're going to feel agitated, overwhelmed, maybe even miserable, desperate for an easy shortcut. Now, what is that shortcut here? It is to eliminate this whole process, to not look up the definition of that new word in the target language that you're trying to master, and not look up the different contexts that it can be used in, different examples of it, the synonyms, the antonyms, and just go directly to the definition of that word in your L1, your first language. Now, I'm not telling you not to do that. It's only natural to do so, but when you do it is important. If you go directly to the L1 definition without first looking it up in the TL, or even worse, if that's the only thing you do, then it will have detrimental effects on your second language acquisition. It will harm you in the long way. It will give you the illusion of knowing, because most likely it's going to be in your short-term memory, because you've deleted all those steps, and one of the points of doing all those steps was the repetition it brought, and now it's gone, poof. But If you do this at the end, after you've looked it up in the TL, after you've used your sense of perception and speculation, then it will boost up your knowledge, because there's always going to be some confusion. And when you do this at the end, it will clear up that confusion. I think you have to consider why you're learning a new language, what you're expecting to gain from it. If you want to move to an English-speaking country, or your job obliges you to speak fluent English, then you should emphasize more on the direct method and try to decrease the amount of translation that you're doing right now, specifically in your mind. But if you need your TL to write paper, articles, or to do research, then you're going to need a higher emphasization on grammar. You need to be instructed in a detailed way that is understandable for you. You need to find equivalents in your first language that is logical, so yes, translation should be used then. And if you're a mature student who's starting out learning a new TL and you have a vocabulary, let's say 50, and I want to teach you abstract meanings, definitions, basic grammar instructions, then yes, translation should be used, but it should be carefully done. It has to be limited, because keep in mind that research has demonstrated that the beginner level adults who learn the target language grammar using their first language in a limited manner significantly improve their grammatical competency. Now, the other criticism that translation often gets is false equivalence. Some claim that cultural aspects are better to not be translated into the student's L1 due to the ambiguity it can bring for them. However, translating idioms can sometimes increase the students' awareness of cultural differences. It can make them realize what's considered redundant in their language is considered imperative in others. A grammar structure that is considered informal or even perceived as rude in one's language is considered formal or crucial in others. So it's not about not doing it, it's inevitable. And it's not about denying the incongruity these two can have together. I think it's about how you do it, the strategy you've got. I believe there is a vivid line between using L1 in an effective, proficient way and using it excessively in a harmful way. There was a research done back in 2009, which I will link down below, and they concluded that for optimum results, L1 should be used to help construct knowledge in the target language, facilitate interpersonal interactions, and increase the efficiency. In no way should L1 be accorded the same status as the target language in the classroom. So if you're a student, let me tell you that the excessive use of translation, it will decrease your speed of comprehension and your oral production, your ability to think fast in the spot and to say it at the same time. Because your mind will go slower, because you have created this system that everything you want to say, first you think it in your L1, then you say it in your mind in your L1, then you translate it into that target language, and then you say it. So your speed is going to take a downward slope. But my most important warning is that this is going to become a habit of yours, and the longer you do a habit, the harder it's going to get to leave it behind. Now, I know that sometimes from a student's point of view, it can seem the easier way, right? Especially if they're in a class and they've got homework to do, because it will help you do it faster. But is that what matters? Some language learners put in their money and they enroll in classes or they buy packages, but all put in their time. And time really is the most valuable thing we have. It's not cliche as much as it sounds like it. It's the truth. And if you're gonna put in the time, do it right. Do it once, but do it right. Or do it wrong and then be like, I've been studying for 4 years, yet I'm not any good. I guess I just don't have the talent for it. It's not about the talent. It's about you doing it wrong. And if you're a teacher, let's take our biases aside, as we discussed earlier, and research showed that translation should not be completely eliminated if we're trying to teach abstract definitions, or we are trying to instruct our higher intermediate students through a hard grammar instructor, then it can help us. But it depends on a lot of factors, like your student's background and what they're trying to gain from it. But at all time, it should be limited. It should be done very carefully, and it should be our last resort. After reading 4 research papers this week, I realized that translation is a cognitive activity that can never be completely eradicated, because it will always come back to bite you in the back, and we can benefit from it if it's carried out on a professional rational way. But at the end of the day, it's your choice to take the hard way and take in the agitation at first and then reap what you sow and be fulfilled, or take the easy way and then get yourself stuck in a loop. Before I go, I'd like to make this disclaimer that most of what was said was from my personal experience and the answers I got from those I asked and interviewed, and opinions are not set in stone. I'm always open to change. And the stuff that I gathered from forums, websites, research papers, they will all be linked down below. You guys go check them out. All credit goes to them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, you can show your support by liking it and consider subscribing to me. If you want to know who I am and why I'm making videos and what my videos are going to be about, you can watch my last video. Here it is. I will also link it down below. I wish you all a wonderful night, and peace out.